Hi again then guys, and so one of the most common questions which I've been getting since the 1.11 update patch in particular is how do I go about earning a lot of money in a relatively short time to buy new cars? Because of course you can win cars, but we all want to buy more, let's face it. So, now that the 1.11 update is in effect, we cannot anymore use the pit lane glitch, because that was the way that I used to earn money. It's simple, it's quick, it's fast. But now you can do it in a way that will still please purists because it's an actual race. So it basically keeps everyone happy. And this is a method which I have used before, but I actually totally forgot about using it because I started using the pit lane glitch, and it is a method that I know some of you guys enjoy as well. So the main thing about this event is not what you run, it's how you run the event. That's what makes all the difference. So you want to go to campaign, go to the GT League, and the race itself is not one of the latest ones, it's one of the existing ones in the professional Ruby level events. Now, if you're not at that driver level, don't worry, that is the ideal one, but as a general rule, even if you're way down in crystal level, for instance, just look for events which are on oval circuits. You've got one right there in the Sunday Cup, you've got one in the Raptor events as well, so you can use this exact same methodology in those events. So just apply what I'm saying here and scale it down. But the ideal one is in the Premium Sports Lounge, which is of course the supercar event, and it's the 15 lap event on Blue Moon Bay. As you can see, a 100 grand payout, it's 15 laps, which takes about 10 or 11 minutes. So that alone would be really good. That's a great payout. But this is where it gets even better, because depending on the car that you use, and there are three in particular that I would recommend, the McLaren F1, the Porsche 911 GT3 and the Nissan GTR, the R35. I personally like to use the McLaren, basically because I just do, and it's great through corners, and that is the key. The Porsche, though, I know a lot of people like to use because it's much more affordable, and you can get it to an even lower category or class, and potentially this method could work even better for the Porsche, so give that one a try. But the Nissan, I'm including that one because it's so much more affordable. It's like a 95 grand car, which sounds like a lot when you're starting out on the game, but you can earn that in no time. It really is easy to earn that. So I'll use the McLaren as an example, and I'll quickly run through the tuning that I've done on this car, not in detail, but just so that you can pause the video if you want to and copy it if you want to have the same kind of driving style. So as I said, I'll quickly run through the settings on the car, just scanning over them. You can of course pause the video if you want to see them more in depth, but the most important things are to have both the power and weight increased to a level 3 upgrade, and that is of course just for the McLaren. For the other cars that will be different, because the Porsche you can take it even lower to N400, and it's that class in particular which makes all the difference, because the event is allowed up to N1000 cars, but the trick is to use it in a much lower car and to win in a much lower car, because then the payout will be much, much bigger, but it gets even better than that. So take the power as low as you can, but at the same time not as low as you can, because you want the class as low as you can. So have the power as high as you can in the lowest category, which is N500, 538 horsepower. But you want to drop the weight as much as you possibly can, because that doesn't affect the payout, and it allows you to get through corners quicker. Of course, you also want racing super softs, because who cares about skill? It's just about getting the best possible cornering speed, and that does give you about an extra 3 seconds off every lap. So it makes a big difference compared to like sports tyres, for instance. So I'll scan down here. You can pause on the suspension, then pause on the diff if you want to, and finally pause on the gearbox if you need to. And for the gearbox, it's very simple. I've just changed the auto setting to 217, and that's it. So very, very simple. So now, of course, we'll enter the event itself and I'll explain more. So the main reason why you can earn so much from this event, more than just the baseline of 100 grand, is twofold. One I've already covered, and that is the fact that if you drive and win in a car that's a significantly lower category, you will get a bigger payout. And in this McLaren running in the N500 class, which is essentially half the level, because you can go all the way up to N1000, the payout difference is 109%. That's a massive difference. That means that instead of 100 grand for the event, you're getting more than 200 grand. But then it doesn't end there, because 200 grand in 11 minutes would in itself be be great. But if you can complete the event in a clean race, so don't bounce off of any walls, don't hit into any cars, which can sometimes be easier than it sounds because cars will sometimes rear-end you or swerve in front of you. So as a general rule, make sure you overtake cars rather than undertaking them. Give them a really wide berth. Even when they look like they're getting out of the way for you, don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Make sure that the cars don't hit you. And then, if you do win with a clean event, that gives you another 50% on top of your existing 109%. And you'll see that literally in a second when we skip forward to the end of the race. But basically what that means is instead of 100 grand for the event, you're getting about 315 grand. And that's for an N500 car. So if you do decide to try, for instance, the Porsche 911 in the N400 class, because the Porsche can still do a very similar kind of speed on the straights to this one, then you could earn even more, potentially. I can't guarantee that because I haven't tried the Porsche, but I know a lot of people do like to use that. But the end result is, you've got a car which technically shouldn't be able to win, and that's why you're earning so much from it. So the key to this race is, you don't need to be an amazing driver or anything like that, but what you do need to do is avoid the other cars at all costs. Be more concerned with that than getting like a great lap time or anything like that. You can easily run 45, 46 second laps in a car like the McLaren, different of course for the Porsche or the Nissan, but overall the cars in say first, second and third will be faster than you on the straights. Stuff like for instance the Veyron or the LaFerrari, they can outrun you and they can catch you, but the trick is they cannot catch you through corners. And that is where you make up all the difference. So much so that you'll be in the lead quite easily by laps 6 or 7, and then by the end of the event, you can very easily be like 30 seconds ahead of the next car. And you don't even need to be overly skilled. It's a very simple event. You can earn great cash from it. And so let's skip forward to the end of the race so that you can see that in action. Overall, the event is excellent for earning cash. As you'll see in just a second when the event finishes, you can pretty easily earn over 300 grand in about 11 minutes. So if you do it 3 times a day, that's half an hour of racing, and you've got yourself the best part of 1 million credits. And another great thing about the event is that unlike the pit lane glitch, this method actually gets you a ton of both mileage points and, even more importantly, XP. Because of course with the pit lane glitch, you only get, what is it, like half a mile of mileage points, which is nothing, basically. And the XP is pretty good, it's like 1400. But for this event, because of the disadvantage as well, you're looking at over 6000 XP every time. So, especially if you are at a lower level, for instance, you can level up using this real fast. And that is, of course, a very useful thing to do. It will get you up into the higher classes much more quickly. And as I said, if you can't use this method, if you're not a high enough driver level, for instance, then use the same principles in those lower events, and you can still basically do the same thing. So, for instance, entering the Raptor event on the oval circuit, try doing it with a Raptor that's, say, 1 or 2 classes lower. Because the track isn't particularly long, it's more about controlling the car through corners, so drop the weight, drop the power as well so that you get that bonus, and in no time you'll be working up through career mode, earning more and more cash, more and more XP, and of course once you get your driver level higher, you'll be able to enter this event, if you can already, and start burning through that cash, credits, well, it's the same thing, but burning through the credits, XP and mileage points real fast. And so, of course, if you did enjoy this method and find it useful, of course you could stick around on the channel by slapping sub down below to see new tips, hints, tricks like this as soon as I release them, both in traditional racing methods and also stuff like pit lane glitches and that kind of thing, or general car reviews and tuning also. But that's it for this tip overall. Of course, I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.